crazy. It's crazy how it works.
That is really, really crazy. I love how this is all actually backed by neuroscience,
Hmm.
right? Which is amazing because I think there's a lot of things in the today's day and age of the coaching realm and spectrum that seems very sort of like woo woo, right? But showing that it's actually backed by
Yeah.
research and studies, uh, that it's proven it works for an absolute reason. You just mentioned deep empathetic listening, right? And then this fact that when you're in that state, you're ignoring almost their words, but you're just listening to their emotions. Is this only when conflict is arising, or is this something to do in communication all the time?
You can use it whenever you want. It's effective. Whenever you feel, whenever you are facing somebody who has a need to be heard or need to be validated, or you want to build intimacy and trust and loyalty, you can affect label. And that's what's going to occur. People will thank you for listening to them because for the first time, and many times for the first time in their lives, somebody's heard them at a very deep level. I mean, think about it. We have a culture that says that emotions are evil, emotions are wrong, emotions make us weak, emotions make us vulnerable. We can be exploited by emotions. Come on, stiff upper lip, all that bullshit. And it is. It's all bullshit.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. I mean, we have a culture that essentially demonizes
that's
emotions.
correct.
Where does this come from?
It comes from philosophers 3,000 years ago. And Plato, for example, in the Phaedrus, talked about emotions as being two horses, reason and emotions, and the charioteer, the mind is trying to control them. Emotions are always trying to pull the chariot over, and he talks about the struggle. The problem is that until 30 years ago, the advent of modern neuroscience, we had no way of looking at what was really going on in the brain. And so philosophers and theologians would see emotions as getting in the way of reason, and they would see nothing but bad things coming from emotions. And then because of war, when men were going into war, they were, of course, experiencing fear and anxiety, naturally, terror, and they were trained not to feel that in order to make them more effective warriors. And they would bring that mentality back out of war, and it just slowly over centuries got acculturated into our culture. And then in the 1920s, the Republican Party needed was reimaging itself, so it decided to create this myth called the rugged individualist, which has never existed in our history. But they did this, and so you got this whole John Wayne rugged individualist mentality that the Republicans were trying to put up as a sort of a counter myth to the welfare state that FDR was creating and that sort of thing. And so that was a political propaganda that was created, but that just reinforced everything. And and so now we have it, and then now we have a situation where when we grow up, our emotions are invalidated. Remember when you were 2 years old, you were running around, you scraped your knee, and you started crying.
Yeah,
What were you told?
it's okay. You're fine. Don't
Wasn't it?
worry.
Don't cry,
Yeah.
be a big boy, be a big man. Girls are told
Mhm.
the same thing. That's emotional invalidation. It's the most insidious, pervasive form of emotional abuse that exists, and it's everywhere. And you will grow up on that. And what do you learn? You learn that emotions are not a good thing to display. Emotions are bad.
Mm,
And so you
mm.
become withdrawn and emotionally avoidant. And you never really learn how to emotionally mature. And the fact of the matter is, and I include myself in this, is that most of us have never emotionally matured beyond 8 years old until you
Wow.
go through, you've got to do a lot of work to do that. But affect labeling, as it turns out, is a fast path to developing emotional intelligence and growing and maturing as an emotional being. Just doing the practice, just listening to emotions grows you as a human being.